When Mueller submitted his report on Russian interference in the 2016 election and the possibility of Trump obstructing justice, it was prepared so every section had its own summary, with the belief each would be made available to the public.
Here's a summary of the article.
When Special Counsel Robert Mueller submitted his report on Russian interference in the 2016 election and the possibility of President Trump obstructing justice, it was prepared so every section had its own summary, with the belief each would be made available to the public, a U.S. official familiar with the matter told The Washington Post. With that in mind, some members of the Mueller team have told associates they are frustrated with Attorney General William Barr sending a 4-page letter to Congress that summarized the report in his own words. There was immediate displeasure from the team when they saw how the Attorney General had characterized their work instead, the official told the Post, adding that Mueller's office prepared their summaries in a way that minimum redactions, if any, would have been necessary, and the work would have spoken for itself. Barr's letter said Mueller did not establish criminal conspiracy between the Trump campaign and Russia's government, and also didn't reach a conclusion on obstruction. The investigators found the obstruction evidence to be alarming and significant, the Post reports, with one person telling the paper it was much more acute than Barr suggested. The New York Times first reported about the frustration felt by some investigators.
This post received a score of 36,309, with an upvote ratio of 87%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Serious question, could Mueller simply release the summaries himself, or would that be against the law?
I read a response to this question in a different thread that had the consensus is that no, he can't release the report. He works under the Justice Department and the authority of what needs to be redacted isn't his. Further, if he did it would demonstrate bias and render the entire report potentially lacking in credibility. It seems as if Congress and the Justice Department need to sort this out. It's pretty scary shit that there isn't even enough integrity for the report to be revealed. How anyone could remain a Republican with this going on is crazy.
Greater than how anyone could remain a Republican with this going on is crazy. The report is filled with false assumptions and fake news. Risking national security by releasing an unabridged version of this report just to satisfy liberals' desire to twist the facts to hurt Trump would be crazy. Less than, there, a narrative in 2 sentences that would allow someone to maintain their bias and support holding back the report. Whether or not you feel that narrative holds water, I think the bottom line is that people can find ways to justify a lot when they're determined not to change their minds.
Greater than, the report is filled with false assumptions and fake news, but it's also a full exoneration, which everyone should accept uncritically.
I love how a lifelong military vet with a 40-year record of perfect service to his party and government is somehow less credible than a 70-year-old over-spray-tanned man-child who dodged the draft, taxes, and claims his daddy's success as his own. Makes it real easy to defend our country to foreigners. How can we say jack shit about Brexit when our own politicians are getting away with bullshit by saying fake news at every turn?
As a Brit, every time I go to type a comment conveying my incredulity around US politics, I stop myself because of Brexit. How can Americans be so blind? Well, right back at ya, I imagine the response would be, at least Trump will go eventually. Brexit, I think, has longer-term consequences. Peace to all you Americans. Every time I read your news and lose faith, I remember that every time I've visited I've been met with kindness and hospitality.
Trump and Brexit are just symptoms of the same underlying disease.
Yeah, Russian intelligence operations.
No, people wouldn't fall in such huge masses for populists if there wasn't a deeply rooted fear of becoming irrelevant. Even if Russia and Murdoch and Koch brothers had such a power to swing an election, you would still have a very large population, say, 20 to 40% of the electorate, who would support isolationist and retrograde opinions. I think this is because the world is evolving too fast for too many people, they can't cope with the changes they see in society, they feel outcast in their own country, outdated by new technologies and ways of life. This is what they can't bear, and anyone who promises them MAGA or restore our independence is going to have their support.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.